Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And we have a very special aircraft carrier for you tonight, as this is our 300th episode of Orioles on the Verge, and it is night one of the MLB Draft. So we have a lot to break down here over the next hour or two, depending on how long we have to wait for the Orioles' second pick in night one. And we'll get to all of that in just a little bit. But first, Orioles on the Verge is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all things sports, for all your sports betting needs this season. From baseball, golf, soccer, right to all the top fights in UFC, MMA, and boxing. Every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or on one with over 150 slots games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, the game starts here. And as we like to do at the top of every episode, we're going to welcome a couple new members of our Patreon community. And with that, I will turn it over to Bob, who is fresh off vacation and ready to go tonight.
Yeah, so I would like to thank a couple guys who are joining up here. Jacob Milner signed up with the AA level, as did KTG TV. I won't say the full name from the email just in case that's what you want to go by, but I recognize the name from the Discord. So glad to have you jump on over to the patron side just in time for the draft and the All-Star break.
Yeah, good to have you here. And we're celebrating not just the MLB draft, but the Orioles getting away with a win to avoid the sweep against the Yankees in their last game before the MLB All-Star break. Now, let's shift our attention to the draft here. Nick, we spent a lot of time on last week's two episodes talking about the draft a little bit. We had Tyler Jennings from Prospects Live on to help us break things down. You did a draft preview before that. Right now, we're waiting for the 14th pick overall to come in, which will be from the Cubs. What are your thoughts on the way the board has fallen so far?
I like it so far. It's been kind of fun. Chase Burns going number 2 to the Reds. That was certainly interesting, I think, especially with all these big bats. But if you project ahead a little bit, like Charlie Condon going to the Rockies, that's going to be a lot of fun. Jack Caglione from Florida, announcing him as a two-way player, going to the Royals. JJ Weatherholt falling to the Cardinals at 7. Braden Montgomery falling to the Red Sox at 12. That's good for Boston. I don't know. I'm mad the Orioles are at 22 because I feel like we're going to maybe miss out on some of this value that's falling. But I like the way this is shaping out so far. We're only a couple more picks until 22 here. And I don't know. I've got a lot of guys on the list that I'm very intrigued by that I would love to have. And they're all still available. So we'll see what happens in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, really enjoyed listening. Turns out when you're not on the podcast, it's a pretty good show. People should listen to this. Really enjoyed the episode with Tyler Jennings last week. Feel like I'm much more knowledgeable now coming into the draft than I was beforehand. But yeah, I think it's been a fun draft so far. Love surprises. JJ Weatherholt all the way down at 7 for the Cardinals. They have to be loving life that happened for them. And yeah, I'm hoping Carson Benj, or is it Benj or Benji? That's the guy I'm hoping falls to the Orioles here with our pick. But there's also guys like Brody Brecht and everyone else that has been mocked to the Orioles in the past week or so. I feel like there's been 5 different names. So very excited to see how it shakes out.
Well, that's a good point, Bob. We have seen a lot of different mock drafts up to this point, and you tend to see the same handful of players pop up, but there doesn't seem to be a consensus at number 22 so far. So most of those names right now are still available. In fact, I think all of them are to this point. So keeping in mind some of the guys that have been mocked to the Orioles, who do you want to be available at 22?
I want Carson Benj from Oklahoma State. I think it makes for an interesting conversation. Maybe we can go off on here for a few minutes and kill some more time before the pick happens. But with Benj, I think that's the most fun pick. Oklahoma State outfielder. He hits the ball incredibly hard. Saw the home run spike this year. He pitches as well and could get up to the mid 90s. But like I've said before, I don't care about him pitching. I don't think whoever drafts him, I don't think he's going to pitch. You want him hitting. The big issue is the ground balls, but like I don't know. He has phenomenal contact rates. You can teach lift. You can get him to lift the ball and tap into that power. That's why I like Binge. I don't like that. Pull the board up here. I don't like Milwaukee and like the Marlins sitting there at like 17, 18, 16 right before us. I feel like they will like snap grab some of these college bats, but I want Binge. But I guess the thing I've been thinking about the most is Brody Breck, though. And I've been seeing all the conversation. How do you guys feel if, let's say, it's Vance Honeycutt, who has the hit tool concerns and the swing and miss concerns, which are very real, and it's Brody Breck who's got the control concerns, which are very real? Which way do we go if it's either of those? If both of those guys are available, that's where I'm struggling with, I think.
That is a tough call because both have tremendous upside, just in different ways. And I know some people think the Orioles might be great at their hitting development, but you can't really teach Honeycutt to hit the way that you would want him to be an impact major leaguer. I'm not so sure. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they've at least worked with Judd Fabian now. They have to at least have some more knowledge on what to do with a guy like Honeycutt, who just seems like a souped up version of Fabian in a way. But personally, I would go Brody Brecht, and I really love what the Orioles are doing on the pitching development side. We've talked about it a lot. This is the year of the pitcher. And hey, maybe if the trade deadline is people are asking for the moon for all these guys, why don't we just take Brody Brecht, Garrett Crochet him up? People want us to trade for Garrett Crochet. Let's just draft him and pull an Angels and bring him up for the bullpen and see what he could do. I think it'll be fun. I mean, that's obviously not going to happen, even if they do draft him. But it's fun to dream on draft night.
I get the sense that if both of them are there and they're as high on the Orioles board as we think they are, that they're going to go with Honeycutt because that fits their model in the first round, which is take the guy who has the tools but questions with the swing and miss. And they're very real questions with Honeycutt, but Brecht's questions with command are real issues. So I do think if it comes down to those two guys, Honeycutt is going to be the pick. Now, here's a wild card for me, which is that if you would go with Brecht, there could still be some high school outfielders or college outfielders there for you. And I wonder if the Orioles feel like they could get Dakota Jordan at 32nd and get Brecht 22nd, does that change the complexion of the draft at all?
Yeah, that was when I was thinking about it, that's where my mind went to. Like, if Brecht is that high on the Orioles board, and like a week ago, I would have said I'm pretty fine with passing on Brecht because of control issues. And I know Joe Doyle at the very beginning of the season over at FutureStarSeries.com, he was sharing some data early on in the college year, looking at guys who had the control issues that Brecht does and like similar walk rates, and then translating that to pro ball, and the success rate was very, very low for these guys. And I get like, yeah, you can move him to a relief role, which he has that safer floor, like fastball slider combo. You don't have to worry about the control as much. Throw him in the bullpen there. I get that, and that's true. But like some of that data that Joe was sharing kind of scared me off. But like we've been preaching year of the pitcher, we've been preaching this Orioles pitching development, even when no one else was. I stand by it, but then I was kind of, I don't know, just off put by Brecht in that control stuff when you look at some of the high upside bats. But to Zach's point, I thought about that exact point earlier, looking at the rest of the board. If you take a bat first and you pass on Brecht, if he's still available here, if you pass on him and you look at some of these other college arms, like Ben Hess has control issues, and he didn't impress this year probably as much as he should have. Jonathan Santucci, we talked about him with Tyler, how he was great at the beginning of the year, but then that control really fell off at the end of the year. I think he had an oblique injury or something. It wasn't an elbow or shoulder injury at the end of the year, but he missed some time at the end of the year. So like a lot of these college guys, Luke Holman from LSU is like fine, but I don't know if he has the ceiling that some of these other guys do. So it's like if you pass on Brecht and he's available, the upside I think for college pitching just isn't there, but the upside for college hitting and high school talent, of course, would be, I think. So I think that's what kind of sways me into if Breck's there, I'm fine with it. Let's go. Let's bring him in.
I thought it was interesting when we had Tyler Jennings on last week. We asked him about Brecht, and Tyler cast some real doubt on Brecht's control, and I think that he brought up a lot of valid points. But when I asked him, realistically, how far is Brecht going to slide if he's not taken 22nd overall, he didn't think it was going to be that far. So I kind of agree with Tyler that if Brecht is there at 22 and you don't take him, he's not going to be there at 32. Someone else is going to grab him between those two picks. So that's the risk you have to live with. But I do wonder at this point with the Orioles having not taken a pitcher in the first round under Mike Elias, how high is that risk tolerance right now?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Do we? I don't know. I mean, when Brad Civic was here, I go back to that interview a lot, even though he's not in the organization. Matt Blood's running things out, so it is different. But like, I go back to what he said. Like, the Orioles have never been opposed to selecting pitchers this early, despite what many fans probably believe. They're a model-heavy team. They go with who's best available on their board. And Matt Blood did make a comment earlier this week, like, some common sense has to be thrown into this as well. But like, we just don't know what they're willing to do as far as these pitchers go, as the Mariners just took the two-way pitcher. So sorry, Garrett. I know you're hoping for the fun two-way pitcher there. He goes to the Mariners, of course, because the Mariners always get fun things, but that's all right.
Well, except for playoff victories, but
that's
other
true.
than that. Yeah, it's curious, the risk profile. I mean, obviously for fans, and especially once the team is contending and winning consistently, even despite a 5-game losing streak we're just coming off of, being competitive, you want that high upside, you want that risk, just because boom or bust, you want to go for it. You want to play it safe and be like, well, we're drafting a guy who could be barely a passable left fielder on a future major league team, or a fourth outfielder with one of your top picks. But I mean, realistically, not many picks make it in general. So that would be a successful pick. And the Orioles have done a good job of being safe, but also developing guys like a Connor Norby, who, it might be considered safe, but they've also been able to squeeze out a little bit more from them as well.
I'm going to throw out another name here who could be in play at 32, and that's Kellen Culpepper. We talked about him a lot last week, the shortstop out of Kansas State. It does feel like if you're going to grab a high floor guy on night one, Culpepper is someone you should target. So I'll just throw this out there. Do you think he's a realistic option for the Orioles?
Yes. Yeah, he just is. College player, going to stick at shortstop. Again, very safe, very raise the floor, the old slogan. But at the same time, maybe there's good batted ball data as well, from what I understand with him. And maybe you can get a little bit more. Maybe he's the next Joey Ortiz, obviously taken a little bit sooner than Joey Ortiz was. And especially if the college infielder route is not super strong after him, I could see them jumping on him if the outfielders are a little bit, deeper. A little bit later in the draft.
Yeah, I like Culpepper. Like it's really not this, as far as the college middle infielders go, it's just not that deep. And so I think I've talked about it in the Patreon Discord. It's like, once you get to this tier, it's Kalen Culpepper and it's DeBarge from Louisiana Lafayette, who maybe could be an option at 32. Might be a bit of a reach. I don't know, but like after that, it's higher floor, but like really low ceiling guys like Griffo Ferrell over at UVA. He doesn't have the power. He's like a Taron Vavra-esque player. Like, he's going to get on base and hit the ball fine and be an okay base runner, but like, you want that upside here. And I just think, knowing the Orioles, being able to grab one of these high upside college middle infielders is going to be very attractive. He's got the Team USA experience, which we know the Orioles like. He's got good Cape Cod League experience. He really steps up in postseason play as well. So like, he steps up when the lights are bright. I like Culpepper a lot here. I don't know. Just going back to the Brecht thing too. It's like, even if they pass on Brecht and they go 2 batters, I would even be okay with that, just because I feel like with the draft, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but with the draft, I almost feel like it's maybe even better to just let's go high ceiling with the bats, right? Let's keep shooting the moon here with all these bats. Let's stockpile them up. We can move them. We got enough. Some guys are going to rise to the top to the major leagues, as we've seen. You're going to have more Connor Norbys in your system, and that sucks for those players. But as we've seen already this year, having guys like Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers, look at today's game, Kyle Stowers, having that depth is very valuable. You can eventually trade these guys down the road with pitching. Like I'm fine with as far as like going safe, going just stockpiling pitchers like rounds 5, 6, on through 20, getting 10 or 11 pitchers. Maybe none of them project as a future ace or a 1 or 2. Maybe one guy eventually climbs up, really breaks out, and he's like a potential mid rotation guy. But continue to build this pool of back end starters, 4 or 5 guys, depth pieces, and then trading for the high upside guys, trading for the Chase McDermotts, trading for the studs, trading for the Colin Burnses, the proven veterans, using the international market to go after the Luis de Leons and, Keeler Morphe. We talked about him last week. He's showing promise on their DSL. Use the international market and trades to shoot for those high upside pitchers and just keep doing what you're good at as far as these hitters go. I don't know. I'd be fine with that strategy as well.
It's worked so far. I don't see any reason why you would have to deviate from it. Yeah, I'm absolutely for that. And at the same time, I'm also okay with taking on a Birdie Brecht or, Jackson Ballmeister last year for the Orioles, a big swing a little bit earlier if they think, hey, this guy has yeah, did you mean Corbin Burns? Or Colin Burns could probably pitch just as well as Corbin Burns, honestly. I've heard things about the lat pull downs and stuff. So yeah, I mean,
it's only my first beer too, I promise.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm totally fine if they keep the same strategy going, but at the same time, I think they know more than ever the kind of arms that they can work with the best. And unfortunately, a guy like Kiefer Lord had to have surgery, but him and Baumeister last year, I like that they took them a little bit earlier as well. So we'll see. I could go either way. Honestly, the Orioles have drafted so well and developed so well. I'm just like, whatever they do, they're probably right.
I think this is a good time to bring this question up, which is Miami just made its pick 16th overall, PJ Morlando, an outfielder from Somerville High School in South Carolina. Not a guy the Orioles were linked to. Now, we've got a few teams left before the Orioles pick. That's Milwaukee, Tampa Bay, the Mets, Toronto, and Minnesota. Of those teams, which one or two, or possibly all of them, could spoil the Orioles board the most?
All of them. I hate all of these franchises in that I usually like their drafts a lot. I usually love what the Brewers do. The Rays are going to do something Rays like. Who knows? The Mets, I've liked the Mets drafts last couple years as well. And the Blue Jays, I'm sure, would love to just piss off the Orioles. I don't know. I'm looking at, we got 6 picks? 6 picks, and we still got Trey Savage is still sitting there. I'm shotgunning a beer live right here if Trey Savage falls to the Orioles. Cam Caminiti, I like that pick. The young high school lefty. Maybe that would be fun. But you got all the college guys: Ryan Waldschmidt, Vance Honeycutt, Carson Bench, Kalen Culpepper. They're all still there. Brody Brecht's still there. I don't know. I'm starting to feel a little good, but those franchises scare me.
Yeah, I have a feeling either the Mets or the Brewers next are going to take Benj. And yeah, I could see the Blue Jays taking a Savage if he's there. Some guys dropping, but I feel like we're just a little bit too low to really reap the benefits. And watch, we had last year, I feel like, the guys that we wanted, they dropped to us. And they took Enrique Bradfield, which happy with now. But in the moment, it was like, wait, what? Why'd you do that?
Yeah, that's what last year just threw a wrench into all of this, because it's like we knew. It's like we could sit here and circle. I didn't even look at Bradfield coming into last year's draft. One, because I didn't think he would fall to the Orioles. And two, it's like, what does he possess that like fits with other first round draft picks we've seen the Orioles take? and then they take Bradfield, and they seem pretty ecstatic about that. So it's just picking 22, and now you throw the wrench in this whole equation with Bradfield last year. Now it's just like, how do you even take an educated guess as to where the Orioles are going to go at this point? And we know they stay so close to the vest. I don't know. We're getting closer and closer, and I just want these last few picks. I feel like we've been moving fast, and then we jump on, and they're like, everyone wants to eat up the clock now.
I agree with Bob that I feel like if Benz is gone before he gets to the Orioles, it's going to be the Mets. And I have my eyes on the Blue Jays taking Brecht only because I feel like the Blue Jays are willing to roll the dice with upside when it comes to pitchers in the first round. I mean, a few years ago, they took Gunnar Hoagland when he'd had Tommy John surgery. They have a pitching development program that seems to be really good at getting pitchers to AAA and then sometimes struggling to take that next step. Sometimes they're successful, but they will probably take the chance that they could iron out Brecht's command issues. So I'm looking at those two teams in particular, at Benz and Brecht. Now, it doesn't mean that the Twins won't take him. The Brewers, they do everything right, I think, when it comes to the draft. So they're going to make a good pick here regardless. But those are the two teams I had my eye on the most as far as, all right, if it's Benz or Brecht, these are the two teams that are going to spoil it.
Yeah. And I was curious to see how many of these high school guys went.
The Brewers just took a high school pitcher. So Braylon Payne from Elkins High School, Texas, 53rd ranked by MLB Pipeline, going 17th. So there you go.
Right. He is number 70 on Joe Doyle's list, a Houston commit.
Obviously, probably a play for some pick later in the draft.
I was wondering how many of these high school kids were gonna go, because like I asked Tyler last week with the NIL stuff, and we just saw the one kid, Schmidt, I think he's a pitcher, who committed to LSU, and he pulled his name out of the draft like less than an hour before the draft started, told teams not to draft him, according to, I think, Callie McDaniel. Like, I was wondering how many of these guys are going to be like, because my thought process, like, it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of, an 18-year-old kid who's one of the best baseball players in the country. I stopped playing baseball when I was 12. I just sit here and podcast about it. But it's like, I don't know. If I know I'm going to make, these kids know what ballpark, I'm sure what they're going to get in NIL at these schools. But also, a lot of these kids are committed to like SEC, like Power 5 programs. So like, if I'm going to make $500,000, close to $1 million, maybe more than $1 million, some of these kids, I don't know what this NIL deal is like for some of these schools, but if you can make a nice chunk of change, and you also get to, like, if you're going to LSU or Vanderbilt, where the facilities are going to be way better than like Delmarva, like, sorry, Delmarva, but like, you could ride a bus around Delmarva in low A ball, or you can be treated like a king on this campus of an SEC or a Big 12 or an ACC school, while also pulling down a couple $100K, maybe $1 million. Like, I don't know. It would be tough for me to, I don't know, choose the pro route right now when I can. Like, I don't know, but it's we're seeing a lot of high school guys go early on. So maybe teams are just like, we like this guy, we're just going to go ahead and take him early and say, hey, we'll give you slot value, maybe even a little bit of under slot value, maybe a decent amount under slot value. And it's what's the Brewers slot value right here?
So the slot for this pick is $4.53 million, and then they have the 34th pick overall, which they got in the Corbin Burns trade, which is $2.7 million.
Yeah, like this Braylon Payne kid, he's going to Houston. I don't think he's making more than $1 million a year at Houston on NIL playing baseball. So I'm sure they could offer him well below slot value, get a guy they like, get a high upside high school outfielder. They got these extra picks coming up. Brewers are going to be a team to watch with these later picks, I think. Adds a whole nother layer of strategy to this whole draft process, and why I'm glad we just get to sit here and pretend to know what we're talking about before the draft starts. And then once the draft is over, we just get to look at the picks, take in all the information, and say how they fit with the Orioles and whether we like them or not. I think the NIL stuff just adds a whole entirely new level to this that I'm glad I don't have to deal with.
Yeah, these national guys have had their work cut out for them already before that. So, yeah, guys like Carlos Collazo, Ben Badler, all of the guy Joe Doyle. Like that is a tough job to stay on top of that stuff. Hats off to him.
Yeah, it definitely adds another layer of strategy because, we're just talking about the Brewers. They have a lot of picks early in the draft. You look at their third and fourth overall picks, 1.56 million and 1.23 million respectively. So they've got some money to work with early on, which is why I think the Payne pick might make sense for them. The good news, though, if you're the Orioles, is that you do have 2 picks ahead of Milwaukee. So theoretically, if there is someone the Brewers are targeting, the Orioles also like, the Orioles have a chance to grab that player.
We're down to 4. Trey Savage, Waldschmidt, Honeycutt, Benj, Brecht, all still there. I don't know. And I know like players specifically, maybe, I don't know how much you guys know about this, but what I was putting in the Patreon Discord this morning, I've been thinking about it. Not just because I want to see Twitter burn down. I do. But legitimately, he is a good player. But Walker Janik, the catcher from Sam Houston, I legitimately could see him being the top guy on the Orioles board because it's a college hitter. And some of the notes from like Joe Doyle and some other resources said that you talk about in zone swing and miss, great. Low chase rate, great. As far as you always wonder about the competition level you face. He's playing at a mid-major program, and apparently against some of the better stuff plus in the country, he was very successful this year at Sam Houston. I know he's a catcher, but he also plays corner infield. I wouldn't mind the Orioles going the catcher route either here. I know Adley's there. I know Basayo's there. I'm sure the takes would be this. They're trading Basayo tomorrow. They drafted a catcher in the first round. Basayo's going to be traded. But I wouldn't hate that pick either. There's another name that I just started looking at recently. But
best player available. I mean, these guys take a long time to develop. You never know what could happen in the meantime. He could be another excellent catching prospect in this system. Then you trade him in 2-3 years at the deadline for the ace of the moment. I mean, yeah, I'm totally fine. Take the best player available, and for the memes, yeah, let's make it happen.
Fully agree with Bob. As I always say, these things have a way of working themselves out later on.
Rays go high school outfielder Theo Gillen.
See, I thought Yasavitz was going there. That made too much sense to not take Yasavitz. I mean, because you think of a more Rays prospect than Yasavitz.
I was seeing a lot of him at like to Boston, like even top 10 early on, but a lot of like Boston, San Francisco, Seattle. Like, I don't want to get too excited because there are 3 more spots there, especially the Mets. I can see the Mets taking a Savage. But yeah, it's weird that he's falling because he had one of the better years in the whole country. I mean, I feel like he was right there behind Chase Burns and Hagen Smith as far as, being like probably the number 3 pitcher in this class. I'm shocked that he's fallen this far, but I'm not getting excited quite yet. Let's see.
Yeah, we still got a little ways to go, and I agree with you. The Mets, they feel like a fit there, so we'll see what happens in these next few picks. And for the record now, as we look at who is picking ahead of the Orioles, we still have the Mets left as well as Toronto and then Minnesota. And as we try to fill the silence here, what pick so far tonight has been the most surprising to you guys?
For me, it was probably, I don't know if it's surprising because apparently the A's were really in on him, but the A's going Nick Kurtz, the first baseman from Wake Forest. It's like they don't have the strongest farm system. Obviously, the Major League roster is not very great. Obviously, there's a lot going on with that Oakland franchise. But to go college first baseman, like, was that really the best choice? Even with like Jack Caglione there, JJ Weatherholt there. I know Weatherholt's got hamstring issues. He's had multiple hamstring injuries when he was at West Virginia. But like there are some impressive. Hagen Smith's a college pitcher you could have up in the big leagues in a year or two, probably if all goes right. I don't know. again, I'm not a college evaluator scout here, but going the college first base route in Kurtz just seemed meh. I don't know. I didn't like that pick for Oakland.
For me, I guess I'll go with Seaver King to the Nationals. I mean, solid player, obviously Wake Forest, great program, great offense, but you had Bryce Rayner there, Brady Montgomery, James Tibbs, Cam Smith. I don't know. I just think you got C.J. Abrams locked in, and I know we always draft for need, so and I could also go with the last three high school outfielders who honestly I'd never heard of until they got selected, so pretty surprising as well.
I wasn't necessarily surprised by it because I thought for the organization it made sense. But Chase Burns going number 2, I thought was really interesting because it always seemed like it was assumed that Travis Bazzana or Charlie Condon were going to go second overall. So to see Burns there at number 2 for the Reds, I think it's the right organization to take a chance on a guy like Burns, and I think it's going to work. But I think that was really interesting. Kurtz, though, to the A's, I agree with Nick. That just seemed like a reach to me, especially for a team that's not going to contend in the next, 2 or 3 years. Yeah, it would be one thing if you were close to contending and you thought you could get Kurtz to the big leagues quickly, but you're not on the fast track to winning anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Carson Bench to the Mets.
Of course.
Just happened. So
I knew it. I knew to watch out for the Mets.
So he will be traded in the 2025 or 2026 MLB trade deadline.
Oh, that sucks. I wanted him so bad.
Well, now let's see who jumps to the top of our wanted list. Obviously, you Savage if he's there. Looks like it's going to be between Honeycutt, Culpepper, Birdie Brecht.
I mean, let's say it's Honeycutt, then if a guy who has, by some accounts, like a peak hit tool of like 40, and that may be pretty generous for Honeycutt. Like it is some of like the end zone contact rate numbers, like at the beginning, like midway through the year, maybe that I was seeing posted on Twitter were like 60 something percent, 67, 68%. And you look at the top of the class was like 87, 88%. That is a massive drop. Obviously, he's like, yes, it's that Judd Fabian, Enrique Bradfield mold where they have questionable hit tools. Defense is elite. Power is impressive. Bradfield didn't have the impressive power, but maybe more Judd Fabian mold here with Honeycutt. I don't know. Do we want another one of these guys in the organization and just keep rolling dice and hope one hits? Because if one does hit, like that's a star for your team.
That's a good point. I mean, law of averages says that not all of them are going to hit. So you stockpile them. And plus, what came to mind as you were talking about that is, as Eve Rosenbaum said when he was on this show last year, you really need a center fielder to play left field at Camden Yards. The Orioles don't have a center fielder playing left field at Camden Yards, except when Colton Cowser is out there. So that's another. I don't think that that's going to be the motivation for taking Honeycutt. But if you're looking for another reason to take him, that's something in his favor.
I don't know. You got Walt Schmidt here too from Kentucky. That was Tyler's pick. That was Tyler's pick for the thing.
That's like that boring, not boring. I mean, he seems like a really, really solid player, but the one that's not like super exciting. So I could easily see it be him as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 359 average this year, 14 home runs, 24 stolen bases. So he's got speed, 15% strikeout rate, 13.5% walk rate. I'm reading the Baseball America report here. It says he's built like a fullback, 6'2", 205, tons of strength in his chest and forearms, excellent batted ball data. Like I've seen some of the batted. I think I posted it in Discord as well a couple of days ago. The batted ball data. I think he had. I'm not going to be able to pull it out here. It's fast now. We're doing live. If we post this, when we post this on the the podcast feed. Just keep that in mind. We're also live, just hanging out. So if it takes us a little bit of silence in between there, I can't find it. It was like the percentage. He was one of the few hitters in the country to have like the as far as like end zone swing and miss rate and exit velos go. I like that pick as well. I don't know. The Carson Bench thing threw me through a loop there. That sucks because I really wanted him bad.
Yeah, I agree. Benz, I think, was the top of my personal board, but Waldschmidt would not be a bad pick at all. And I could see that being the high floor, highest ceiling guy that you go with at 22nd. And then maybe at 32 or further down the draft, you roll the dice a little bit with a player who has some risk profile but could also pay off.
No. And Waldschmidt's that guy too. It's like maybe if you just look at the numbers, and because he isn't really hyped up, he's not the sexiest pick. But if he is the pick here, I can dive into some of this data to help fill some time there. But I would not hate Waldschmidt at all as the Blue Jays go trade you Savage. I told you they would screw with us. I told you I was afraid of the Blue Jays. They go trade you Savage. Yeah, great value there for the Blue Jays. The AL East is scooping up all the value in this draft. Red Sox getting Brady Montgomery. Blue Jays getting Trey Savage. Gotta do something to keep up with the Orioles.
The Red Sox getting Montgomery is the pick that bothers me the most. Not because I think it's a bad pick. It's because I think it's a great pick, and it's a great value at number 12. That's what bothers me.
Yeah, so we're getting close now. Only the Twins between us and our first pick of the draft. Be curious what they do. They seem to like college hitters as well, so they could take a Walter Schmidt or someone like that, I feel like.
Yeah, that was the thing too. I've got, I don't know, hopefully you guys can't hear the background. I've got tried to keep the volume on just enough so I can hear the broadcast as well. And shout out Melanie Newman on the Melanie Newman, Carlos Collazo, and Lance Brazdowski on the Verge guest. Lance Brazdowski on the MLB Network broadcast there. He had a collapsed lung at the end of the year, was in the hospital, came back just a couple days later, and pitched phenomenally. So like 90-something pitches, almost 100 pitches in that next outing. ECU finished the year pretty strong. Like, that's talk about a bulldog mentality, man. He said, I don't even care if my lungs collapse. I'm going to go out there and throw 100 pitches and shove. I wanted that in the system.
He's got that dog in him.
So while we're talking, let's go to this question here from Garrett. Cam Caminiti is still on the board. He says he wouldn't hate it. What would you guys think?
He is one of those guys who reclassified. So I think I had all my tabs. Trying to go real quick here. Live. So yeah, he is going to be just 17 years old on draft day, which is right now. Duh. Let me get the exact age. He is going to be 17.9. So a lefty pitcher, check. Young, check. We know the models are going to love that. We got to be careful with phrasing here when talking about some of this stuff. But a model franchise like the Orioles is going to like that. A lefty who's already touching 97 miles per hour, I like it. This kid's going to be throwing 100 miles an hour pretty soon.
Yeah, it's very DL Hall-esque, late first round pick, left-handed high school guy. I wouldn't hate it if they like him that much. That would be fun. That would definitely be different for the Orioles, that's for sure.
Here's Joe Doyle's final note on Cam Caminiti. Ultimately, this looks like peak Patrick Corbin, the top of the rotation type of arm. Obviously, I'm assuming that's before, Corbin completely fell off the face of the earth. But has the potential for several all-star games. He keeps his head down, stays offline, and works. Premium clay and a player development dream.
So left-handed Brandon Young is what you're telling me.
Yeah. Little flip phone. he doesn't stay offline. Let's be real. This is a 17-year-old kid who's one of the best baseball players in the country. He's got social media. But no, I like Cam Caminiti. And the bloodline. Orioles like bloodline. There you go.
That's true.
I thought they're going to make the pick. They've got
Come on,
Christian Moore
Twins.
up there. But there's a question to think about. Simpkins' question there. Predict who will the O's take and who you want the Orioles to take.
Depends. I got to see what the Twins do first.
Yeah, as soon as the Twins pick. Keep the tracker up, since that will go and spoil this pick before the broadcast.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Come on. Joe Doyle probably already tweeted who the Braves are taking with the 24th pick.
Let me pull up Joe's Twitter account. I had to mute him. Sorry, Joe. Hopefully have you on the podcast soon. But I had to mute you.
It's dangerous. Could have
The Twins are taking Cole. The Twins have Kalen Culpepper.
Okay.
That is such a
Culpepper's gone.
That's such a Twins pick, and it makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does.
All right.
Now we can cook.
So here we go. Kalen Culpepper's off. Now we know. I have too many tabs, and I closed out the tab that I needed.
I want Birdie Brecht here, since all of my guys are pretty much gone right before our pick, like we thought they might. And I'll say that they take Waldschmidt, though, the Kentucky outfielder.
I want Brecht as well, but I think they take Vance Honeycutt.
Yeah, now
Nick wants the catcher.
Oh, I got 5 guys here. That's the Twins pick there, not saying. I want Cam Caminiti. Let's go for it. Let's go high upside, high school lefty. Who do I think it will be? It's probably going to be Vance Honeycutt.
And just for the record, I wouldn't mind the Honeycutt pick at all. I actually think it would be a good pick. But if I'm going to roll the dice on one of those two guys, I'm probably going to take my chance on Brecht, because both are incredibly risky. It's just I feel like the payoff with Brecht is a little better.
Man. I hate this. Losing out on all the value by picking at 22.
Benji, Savage, Culpepper, right in a row, right before us.
But if Culpepper's gone, like we just talked about with the Brewers pick, it'd be interesting if the Orioles go the high school route here to try to save some money.
Yeah, true.
Who that would be?
Carter Johnson.
I don't know, Bryce Renier. Yeah, Renier's
Tyson
gone.
Lewis, the one that. Who's the one that was linked to us? I feel like Kellen Lindsay, I think I saw, but
by most accounts, the fastest guy in the draft, I wouldn't mind that pick.
We're all about speed now, apparently, so.
I also wouldn't be shocked if this pick is Dakota Jordan, outfielder at Mississippi State. At 32, I would like that. At 22, I'm not going to say I dislike it, but it would not be as exciting to get him at 22. But I think that's also me looking at this and seeing Culpepper or Savage binge go 1, 2, 3 right before the Orioles pick.
Yes.
But SEC outfielder hits the ball incredibly hard. He's got some speed. He's got strong arm as well. Right-handed power bat. I don't know.
Just waiting on pins and needles now. It'll be curious. Where do we put the new guy in our rankings too. So stay tuned for the August update.
Yeah, only a few weeks away here, probably a month, maybe even a little less.
Like how at first I was muting everybody on Twitter, and then everybody was yelling at Vivek in the Patreon Discord to stop spoiling picks in the MLB Draft channel, and now we're like, all right, let's spoil it early.
Yeah.
Now that we're live on air, let's spoil it for everybody. $3.8 million slot value here for this pick.
Yeah. Could definitely see go under slot, especially with the comp pick.
Can one of you guys do me a favor, and regardless of who the pick is, compare him to a Hall of Famer, just regardless of who it is? Find one tool that reminds you of a Hall of Famer and just say, this guy reminds me of, Adrian Beltre, whatever it is.
Is this a shot at Harold Reynolds? I love it.
Aircraft carrier.
Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention, so maybe he stopped saying, Dan O'Dowd stopped saying aircraft carrier, but no one's alerted us either to play our drinking game, so
Yeah.
at least we've been safe there.
Well, he said it enough in the first half hour of the draft. I think he's hit his quota for the night.
I've seen the pick.
You don't look excited. That scares me.
It's Vance Honeycutt.
Is it really?
Yep.
All right.
We got Toolsy outfielder with some upside. We'll see what they can do with the hit tool. Matt Horvath, if they can fix Matt Horvath. Vance Honeycutt, you're up next.
Yeah, so if you like up the middle players who have a lot of tools but questions with the hit tool, which means you're already a fan of Judd Fabian, you're really going to like Vance Honeycutt, who the Orioles take here with the 22nd overall pick in this year's draft. Now, we had Tyler Jennings on last week. He talked a little about Honeycutt. Nick has covered him a lot in some of our pre-draft coverage, but the profile with Honeycutt is that can stick up the middle, has power, has speed, but as Nick said earlier in the broadcast, the hit tool might be a 40 or a 35 at best. What do you guys see in him as a prospect?
Tools for days.
Yeah, you go for it.
I see him as a Mike Trout in the making. I see him as a, peak Torrey Hunter defense. I'm trying to do the comps like Harold Reynolds here. I see, he's going to be rich man's Judd Fabian. I feel like a little bit of Matt Horvath, a little bit of Judd Fabian, but you get a guy that has speed. He's right-handed, so at least he's not another left-handed prospect. He can play solid defense up the middle, center field. If he can hit just a little bit more, make contact a little bit more, then you got something pretty good.
Yeah, I'm trying to put out the tweet too real quick. Zach, you go give your thoughts while I finish this up.
Yeah, so it's interesting as I've kind of read reports on Honeycutt leading up to tonight, which, I kind of summarized it there, but MLB Pipeline notes that he needs to cut down on the chases, which if there's something that the Orioles we know are going to fit into their development model, it's going to be the chase rate. Now, what's interesting is if you look at Eric Longenhagen might be the low man on Honeycutt nationally. He has him ranked down 42nd overall on the board over at Fangraphs. And I'll read from his report here, and he identifies what he thinks the issue here for Honeycutt. Quote, the stiff, deep, low load of his hands when he swings leaves him vulnerable to high heat. A swing change might remedy this, but there are also breaking ball recognition issues here. Honeycutt had a 56% contact rate against sliders in 2024. So if there's one thing we know the Orioles like with their players, it's the ability to hit the high heat. That's why they took Colton Cowser a few years ago. So you look at this Honeycutt pick, and it does seem a little atypical, but I kind of feel like this is the Orioles looking at where they are in the draft, 22nd overall, and trying to maximize ceiling. and they're willing to take the chance that their player development system can fix Honeycutt. Now, until we get more eyes on him, I'm not going to say for certain whether or not I think they can do it. But I do think that if we're going to look for comps, we've talked about Judd Fabian a lot. Dylan Beavers, in terms of projection or in terms of development path, might be a good comp, because that's the one thing we heard about Beavers coming out of Cal was there were swing issues. Honeycutt's a different kind of player. He's going to stick up the middle. He runs better than Beavers does, but Beavers had to, have his swing overhauled when he entered the system. And the first, half season last year for him was pretty ugly. Then he turned around. He's become one of the steadier prospects in the system. But I do think that this is a player who has a lot of upside, but it is going to take some time to start seeing that, if we see it at all, out of him.
You know what? I love this pick. It's at this point, all these guys are going to have holes, right? I was going to say this whoever they picked. No, it's all these guys. All these guys are going to have holes. It's not the deepest draft class, so you're picking at 22. Like, as far as who else was there, like if it's Waldschmidt, Brecht with a control issue, Cam Caminiti is a young lefty, but Vance Honeycutt, he's got the hit tool concern, right? And I'm looking at, I'll pull up Joe Doyle's report here. Joe says Honeycutt has a chance to become a rare 5-tool player at the next level. And yes, the contact and chase rates are suboptimal and point to what could eventually be a 30-grade hit tool at the next level. Proponents of the profile think a 40-grade hitter is very possible. But for now, it's fringy bat-to-ball skills, a plus raw power. Like, I get it. Before the season started, though, like this was my sleeper pick based on where he was ranked and looking at the rest of this class. I would not have been shocked if Honeycutt would have hit his way into the 1-1 selection this year in this year's draft class. So to get him at 22, like he's a center field defender. He's got the premier center field defense that's there. He hit 65 home runs in 176 games at UNC in the ACC. So he's a 3-year starter, hit 25 home runs his freshman year on campus. 65 home runs in 3 years in the ACC, 28 stolen bases this year, like 76 for 89 in stolen base attempts. Yeah, the strikeouts are high. Yeah, there's the swing and miss concern, but like, I don't know. It's easier to teach, like I talked about with Carson Benj. Yes, I think it's a lot easier to teach the guys who already make good contact to lift the ball and get more power out of it than it is for someone like Honeycutt to teach him how to hit the ball. But like when he does make contact, he's one of the better bats in the entire country. And that power, man, right-handed side. It's not even a left-handed bat. You got a right-handed hitter here in Honeycutt. This is your right-handed power. If you can get him to make contact at pick 22, why not shoot the moon here with Vance Honeycutt? I'm excited for it. He's an Oriole. Matt Horvath, you got your old buddy back. Let's go. Where is this at?
So I'll put this out there. What do you guys see as a development path for Honeycutt? We've seen a lot of college hitters enter the Orioles system in the last few years, and the typical path for them is time at the FCL, then Delmarva right after the draft, start the next year at Aberdeen, and in some cases, finish your first full year at AAA ball. Most guys make it to Bowie at least. I know that we're projecting out a long ways, and there's a lot of work that's going to be done, not just in season, but in the off season and spring training next year for Honeycutt. But what's a plausible development path for him?
I think we'll see him in the, well, no, we won't see him in the FCL because that season ends very soon. We'll see him in Delmarva, I'm assuming, and then we'll see him start at Aberdeen next year, get to Bowie around halfway, and maybe if everything goes perfectly, could touch AAA Norfolk. Just seems to be the way things go with the college hitters under the Orioles tutelage. So bare minimum, I would say he's in AA Bowie by the end of 2025 and play from there.
I think that's the part here. It will be interesting to see what the Orioles do this year. We saw a little bit of it last year, but like, was that an anomaly based on who they drafted? How are they going to handle it this year? Because the FCL season started much earlier and it's almost over. Like, doesn't it end like in a couple of days, I think? So you're not going to see these guys in the FCL. They're going to go down to Sarasota and they're going to be working out there. how many, because they don't get that FCL game action, do we think we see the same number of guys go to Delmarva? Do we think we see more guys go to Delmarva? Do we think we see less guys go to Delmarva? I don't know, because also you've got the player limits. So like, unfortunately, this happens every year, but with the player limits now, it's what, 160 players in on these rosters. The more draft picks you send to Delmarva, you're going to have to cut some guys. Or I think, as we've seen in the minor leagues this year, they will put guys on the 60-day minor league IL pretty quickly to free up that roster spot. Just like the major league roster, I think going on the extended IL frees up a spot there. But I see Honeycutt. I think we see him in Delmarva, and I think it's going to be this. I would not be surprised at all, especially considering the hit tool concerns. He gets to Delmarva, and he is Enrique Bradfield-like, where he steals 15 bags in like 8 games with the Shorebirds. He's going to run into a couple of home runs. He's going to get to Aberdeen next year, and he might struggle. It might be a Dylan Beavers type path for him, but if that hit tool does click, like, here you go. And you're adding. I like this too, because you've got another one here, and like, if you want to make a deal, like if Judd Fabian gets traded, if Dylan Beavers gets traded, if Enrique Bradfield gets traded in these next couple of days, the Orioles got to be aggressive at the trade deadline, right? Like, they've got to make some moves. I'm all for you bringing in Vance Honeycutt to be that replacement there. You feel a lot better about being able to trading one of these guys who are in the upper minors right now.
Yeah, I agree. I expect that he is going to get to Delmarva before the year ends. And I think that the Orioles are going to, even with the FCL season ending earlier and with the player limits in effect, they're going to try to find a way to get their top hitters out of this year's class. Especially their college hitters, because you think about some of the players they took last year. Imagine where Matthew Etzel would be right now had he not had those few weeks in Delmarva to end last year. It wouldn't have been unusual to see them stick a 10th round pick down at Delmarva to start this year. And right now he's at Aberdeen, but instead he's at Bowie, more than holding his own against AA pitching. And I think you want to see, can you find a player in this year's class that can do the same thing?
Yeah, that's true. Also going to let performance on the field dictate how fast these guys move. So, you might be slow play a guy like Honeycutt as you work with him, a la Dylan Beavers, but we could get a guy in round 3 or 4 where they just really take to everything. They have a decent hit tool, and they fly up the system.
No, I'm looking at this tweet too. I think you just retweeted it, Bob. I lost it already. But it's where are you at?
The barrel percentages?
Yes. So it's he chased a lot more. What, that chase rate jumped from like 15 or something percent to what?
25.8%.
The chase rate jumped this year. I like what Vance Honeycutt did this year at UNC. It looks like, I mean, we're just like quickly searching some of this stuff live on air. That's the downside of doing it live. We don't get to like sit here and truly evaluate and think about this. But instant reaction here, it looks almost like what Honeycutt was able to do this year and changes he was able to make in his approach at the plate. It's what the Orioles have been preaching at the major league level, which a lot of people I feel like have been complaining about this year, but it's a formula that works and proves to be successful in the major leagues. It's do damage. It's get that A swing off early, pull side power. It looks like Honeycutt really strived for that this year. And yeah, there was swing and miss. Yeah, he chased, but when you left him one over the plate, he did damage on it, and he sent it over the fence 28 times. So I don't know. Orioles have a type. They went back to it though. They went back to their type. They went back to their bread and butter. We'll see how this works out.
Yeah. Cam Caminiti went to the Braves. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I think they could probably work really well with him.
Shout out Stephen Loftus, man.
Yep. Kellen Lindsay to the Dodgers. So Brody Breck's still there. There's still some guys that we like. Could come around. The next pick's only, 7 away? So
he's going to the Breck's going to the Padres right here.
I was just about to ask you that, Nick. I know that you used to cover the Padres. You love to pick apart AJ Preller's decisions, good and bad. You think that Breck's the pick here?
I could see AJ Preller drooling over Brody Brecht right now, and then trading him for whoever in 2 years. Yeah, or even honestly, there. I don't know. I was going to make a joke about them bringing him up at the end of the year to help push them into the playoffs, but they're not that crazy. Although Preller, this is it for him. If things don't go well, he's out in San Diego. So I wouldn't put it past him. But yeah, I see Brody Brecht going to the Padres here at 25.
Just don't let the Yankees get some stud.
All I know is that if they take another Anthony Volpe, we're going to have to hear about it for the next 5 years, how wonderful he is.
They're going to get Walker Janik and Adley Rutschman, who?
Yeah. I don't know. Did one of you guys bring up something about Honeycutt and hitting fastballs? But I don't know if we have that information here. Try to find that. But like Baseball America's report, trying to find some more stuff here. It's like the concerns seem to be about making contact against secondary stuff. And maybe the bat leads scouts to wonder about his pitch recognition at times. I feel like that could be an issue. That's a red flag. But I feel like if the Orioles scouts just felt like, oh, this kid, he doesn't know what's coming out of the pitcher's hand, I feel like they probably would have passed. And if it's an issue of he can't hit the secondary stuff, he's swinging and missing. Like Kobe Mayo really struggled to hit breaking stuff. And if you look at Kobe Mayo's contact numbers against breaking stuff, the jump he made last year was phenomenal. Like if that's one of his bigger flaws here, and you can correct that, that's going to help take a big step forward here for Honeycutt, going back to that pick.
It's a good point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And I was the one that brought up the concerns about the fastball, which were off of Eric Longenhagen's report, talking about how the issue with the deep, low load of his hands when he swings leads him to high heat on the fastball. That's according to Eric's report. So, or at least the report over at Fangraphs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could see that as a valid concern, and that does add another layer on top of questions about the breaking ball. But at the same time, as I talked about earlier with Colton Cowser, the Orioles drafted him because of that as a strength. So I would think that they feel like they know how to teach that.
Well, it's interesting to me listening to Rates and Barrels this past week that a lot was they really went in deep on Gunnar Henderson and his development and what makes him so good. And guess what, guys? Turns out he's not a fluke, by the way. He's going to be good for a long time. The Orioles seem to be teaching their young hitters two distinct swings, one for the fastball, one for the breaking ball. So if Honeycutt's already got that fastball swing on lock, if they could do something to just get him to be able to make at least more contact with the breaking stuff, then maybe that's the secret ingredient they think they can give him to really make him pop once he's in the system. Yeah. And obviously that takes some time, I'm sure, to develop. I know, Saris was talking about Cowser has it, Westberg has it, Gunnar has it, where they have like seemingly two distinct swings for depending on what pitch they are expecting or seeing come over the plate.
And the
Padres
pitcher's in for the pod. Yep, go ahead.
I was like Cash Mayfield, Kash. I would have hated if the Orioles went Cash Mayfield and then went Cash Money in a couple of years. Blake Money's little brother.
Just keep the dollars coming.
I should have known. I said Brody Brecht, but I should have known. Padres like to go high school in the first round. Jackson Merrill, et cetera, et cetera. Shout out Jackson Merrill, Maryland kid, making the All-Star game for the Padres. He's having a great year. Here you go with the Yankees. I'll call the shot now. I'm just going to keep calling the shot until they pick him. Yankees taking Brody Brecht. You need pitching because you got rated in the Rule 5 draft. You got rated in the Juan Soto deal. I could see the Yankees going college pitching, help replenish that farm system. I also love the Twitter responses. We got back-to-back responses to the Vance Honeycutt pick. One, Mike Trout 2.0. Next comment, he can't hit. I love it. I love it so much. Which is fair. Like, he does struggle to hit, but he also does have Mike Trout power there, so fair.
So there was a conversation on Twitter not having to do with Yudis Mordan taking too long to go around the bases after a home run.
God. It just amazes me. It's like, Orioles fan. Like, you see a Nudis Mordon slow play. He's a big kid. Slow play his way around the base. Like, he's going to get beamed his next time up. Like, do we need that? Let's see. Next college pitcher.
Yeah, good question here from Simkin. Who's the next likely college pitcher except Brecht?
I just messed up everything there.
You saw Jonathan Santucci on the board.
Yeah. Let me look at this list here. So Brecht, Santucci. It's a lot of high school guys. Ben Hess is like 6'5", 250 from Alabama. It throws 98 miles per hour. I wouldn't hate that for the Orioles. And he's, again, like I mentioned earlier, with these college arms, though, a lot of them just, they're not pointing up. Like, they're not entering the draft season riding a high like some of these other guys are. As far as the college pitchers go, maybe Brecht falls to 32. I would take if it's Vance Honeycutt and Brody Brecht. I mean, you talk about shoot the moon in this draft. Let's go. I'm all for it. But yeah, Ben Hess. I also like Luke Holman out of LSU. Or here's a pick, and I saw Lance Brzezowski,
Bryce Cunningham.
Beam feels very safe. I was going to say Cunningham. Lance Brzezowski. I don't know if you guys were watching the pre-draft show. But on MLB Network, Lance Brzezowski was talking about Bryce Cunningham, righty out of Vanderbilt. Specifically, Bryce's changeup. He said it was in the Devin Williams tier. So he was very careful to say, like, it is not a Devin Williams clone changeup, but it is a phenomenal changeup. Maybe not a unicorn changeup, but certainly one that's like, whoa, this is a major league pitch that's going to be effective in the major leagues. It helps the other pitches play up as well. I think Bryce Cunningham, and a guy I've seen numerous different spots before the draft earlier today, where Bryce Cunningham is apparently really flying up boards recently. So I would not hate Bryce Cunningham at all. Vanderbilt guy.
Also, Waldschmidt could still be there at 32. Get two talented outfielders, one a little bit safer than the other. I'm seeing here that Vance Honeycutt, among this past off-season's visitors to the elaborate Holiday Family Baseball facility in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So there's a connection.
All right.
Working out with Jackson Holiday.
Does anyone have the spoiler for the Yankees pick yet?
I do not. They must... Oh, yes, I do, actually.
Brecht?
Ben Hess. So they went pitcher, but not Brecht.
Hess. Like I said, I like Hess a lot. If he can throw strikes, I mean, that's a big boy. Big man. In a good way. Like, 6'5", 255, that's a workhorse for you. And if he's already throwing 98, like, let's go for it. But I'm happy that he can go to New York. Have fun there.
So the teams left to pick between the Yankees and the Orioles now are the Phillies at 27, followed by the Astros at 28, the Diamondbacks at 29, the Rangers at 30, and then the Diamondbacks again at number 31. The Phillies interest me as a team in the draft because for as much as they've done well at the major league level, obviously in the last few years, and I think their player development system has gotten better. They had a run there of drafts that were not good. And so I'm curious to see what they do here in the back part of the first round. I mean, I could see them taking Brecht just as an upside play, but they've got a lot of talent in front of them here.
Yeah, I'm trying to look ahead to the Orioles and seeing who we got here.
Tommy White, that's who you want, right?
Please don't take Tommy freaking White.
Tommy Tanks.
I was actually going to ask about that. We have not talked about Tommy White all night. He's been mocked to the Orioles a few times.
No.
You look at most prospect lists, he would be a reasonable selection by those rankings at 32. How would you guys feel about that?
It doesn't seem to fit for me. It does. It would make some kind of sense just because you have obviously some success as a hitter at the college level. That's got to be good for the model. But good defense athletes. I doubt they're taking a first baseman with I don't know, some holes in his swing. I don't know. I don't see it.
No. I mean, to be fair, I looked this up earlier this afternoon because I just didn't understand why so many mocks were putting Tommy White to the Orioles. And he's more than just the power. Like, we'll give him that. And I'm going to pull up Joe's report here. He's extremely reluctant to take walks, despite oftentimes never seeing a fastball in the strike zone. Even still, he posts gaudy contact rates on pitches outside the strike zone. So he's going to hit some Anthony Santander home runs in the big leagues. Like, he's got the bat to ball skills. He can make good contact. He can make contact with fastballs and high velo. It just seems like he puts a Pete Alonso comp on Tommy White, which I know would excite a lot of people. I don't want to take a first baseman. I know he played third base at LSU, but I don't know if he's going to stick over there at third base. I don't want to take a first baseman this early. Like, give me a high school kid. If maybe Vance Honeycutt is a little bit of a haircut here and you save a little money and you can grab one of these high school kids that falls, like, I would much rather take the ceiling there. But
yeah, I kind of agree. There's some things there to like about him, but I would rather go ceiling with the 32nd pick over a guy like Tommy White.
Yeah. Who were some of the other guys that were mocked to the Orioles with their second pick coming up?
I know Dakota Jordan's thrown out there.
Yeah. Not that. I like Dakota Jordan. Again, just the power. He's got speed. He's got the good arm. SEC bat. I wouldn't hate that at all. I'm trying to pull up Kylie McDaniel's mock real quick. Not too many people, for obvious reasons, go past the first round. Yeah, Kylie over at ESPN had Carson Bench at 22, RIP. And he had Dakota Jordan, at 32, and then Mike Sirota from Northeastern in the second round there.
I would love Sirota in the second round.
Yeah. I don't know.
Which will get picked tonight, right?
Yes. I don't know if we're going to stay on.
No, definitely not going to be online for that one.
Dante Nori.
Gauge jump, anybody?
I like Gauge jump. Phillies go Dante Nori, left-handed hitting outfielder. He's Canadian. Oh, here you go. MLB Pipeline. Dante Nori's grandfather, Fred Nori, recruited Kyle Schwarber to Indiana as an assistant coach. There you go. There's a connection there. A lot of high school guys.
Yeah. And not the bigger named, higher ranked ones either.
Well, and it kind of runs counter to everything we've heard about this draft class, which is that it's weak on high school talent. So do you think this is a lot of teams cutting deals, whether they're going to give guys a little bit more upfront or they're going to, cut off the first pick to go deeper with their draft pool? What do you think is going on here?
I think
it's got to be that. Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah, it's got to be, because like I said, if you can, and I didn't think about that until I brought up the first time there, you take these guys in the first round. I can't believe I didn't think about this. Yeah, I also wasn't looking at like the slot values here when last week when we were talking with Tyler, but I mean, these are all still, even at pick 27, the slot value is still 3.23 million. You're not getting that. Where is he committed to? I don't know. He's committed to Mississippi State. All right, so he's an SEC commit, but still, like, you're not getting $3 million. You're not getting $2 million. So you can maybe even go down to $2 million. You save 1.2 million there with this pick. Go for it later. Like, that's fun. This is why I like following it, though, and seeing this. This is fun to see all these high school kids go off this early. And also because I like it, because it's maybe create some more value for the Orioles. Maybe Walt Schmidt does fall here to pick 32, which I would not hate at all.
A lot of comments that Vance Honeycutt at least looks like an Oriole prospect. Fits in the lineup.
I like the pick. It's easy to say that here. It's the MLB draft. Like, what you really, unless it's Tommy White, are you really going to sit here and say like, oh, I hate that pick? Like, it's going to be, even the college guys, it could be years before we see these guys. The high school kids, maybe even further along, unless you're like Jackson Holiday. But like, it's going to take some time. These kids are going to grow and develop. They're still not fully mature yet. You get them in these pro organizations, and you don't know how they're going to react. I mean, even someone like Vance Honeycutt could flame out in Delmarva. Like, that is, like, could very well be the case. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, let's take the risk here with a guy like Vance Honeycutt. We'll see. And I like, shout out to Orioles Review. I know a popular follow. Lots of Orioles fans love him for many good reasons. And he said, look, hey, trade Judd Fabian, trade even Dylan Beavers, trade even Matthew Etzel. Like, you're not going to feel any pain if these guys are traded now at the deadline, because Vance Honeycutt's just going to step right in behind him. Like, this, keep the pipeline flowing with that talent. You obviously don't take Honeycutt because you're working on a trade right now, but still, it does make, if they were to trade from these upper level minors outfielders, Honeycutt will be in the upper minors if all goes right in a year. So,
and let's be honest, knows anything when it comes to the baseball draft. It's so hard. Yeah. I mean, I'm talking about fans in general. Just like, we don't know what's going to happen. I know I don't know. So it's really tough to say if you like or not like a pick. I think 2 months into the following season, and you can kind of get a sense as you're watching these guys play and how the organization has developed them, or the way that they play the game and make adjustments. Then you can start to maybe say one way or the other. But yeah, it's really tough right now. I think baseball is not the draft that you're going to be like giving out grades at the end of it and be like, they killed it. What a draft, Next year's going to be the year of the bird. I don't know.
Yeah. And like, you can look at the tools, right? And you can compare, you can read all the reports, you can see the tools, you can look at the data. That's a good thing. We have a lot of accounts out there, and a lot of outlets do a great job of pushing out a lot of that college data that, we really dive into as far as what portends to success in the major league level. And you can do that more so with these college guys now, which is fun to look at. But like, at the same time, I go into the comment of like, oh, people would be like, I hate this pick. I watch a lot of college baseball. I've watched Vance Honeycutt play like 3 times. Like that's still not enough to sit here, and that's in college. And as Lance said, I think he mentioned this with you guys when he was on the show. Like there's been a lot of talk about this lately. That college ball is so much different than the minor league ball, which is so much different than the AAA major league ball. And like you see the pitchers in college right now, if you see a guy who I'm trying to think of a later on, Ryan Prager at Texas A&M is a guy who I hope the Orioles draft. I've seen induced vertical break numbers, IVBs like 22, 23 inches, that elite hop on his fastball. He's not throwing that in the minor leagues. He's in Delmarva. It's 19, 20. Like that's going to go down. College hitters were hitting it harder than ever this year. Like balls are flying out of the park left and right in the college game because of the baseball. So that's another thing too here to look at. Like, how are these guys going to play when they're in pro ball with the wood bat, with the new baseball? Like, obviously, the pro scouts know they can help translate that much easier. That's the part of their job, is being able to show, like, okay, how is this guy going to translate to that? But us as fans, it's like we have no clue. We have no idea. It's a wait and see game, but it's fun content, at least for right now. Give us something to do here on a Sunday night.
Yeah, and I'll bring this question from Connor now on YouTube. How much do you think the O's front office weighs analytics versus eye test when drafting? I assume it leans analytics. So what do you guys think?
Strongly analytics, but I don't think they just throw out the scouting or eye test either. I think, especially when it comes to old school scouting, like I think Simkin makes a good point here, that they're looking at more than just the performance on the field. They're looking at how are these guys going to work with our coaches as we try to implement things. How are they going to interact with their fellow teammates, character. And yeah, I think mostly analytics. I think that's first and foremost. If they think what you're doing on the field is going to translate, that's going to hold a lot of water. But at the same time, they're looking at how you're going to mix in the organization, and that goes to those soft factors as well.
Yeah, it's very heavily model driven and analytics driven. But yeah, at the same time, again, I know he's not in the organization anymore, but I love that interview so much. The Brad Selick interview when he was with us, like almost 2 years ago now. But still, I feel like that mantra is still going to hold true with this regime because it's largely the same people. The Orioles don't want the guys they know guys are going to fail, but they don't want guys to fail because of their character. So I think that is a major, major aspect into this as well. I feel like they would easily pass on a guy if they felt like he did not have that growth mindset. He would not fit in the organization. He was a me first type player. I feel like they would have no issue bumping a guy down on the board and just saying, no, we'll pass. So yeah, but that's what, I feel like because they're so model heavy, it's why when you hear like national people talk about the Orioles draft, it frustrates a lot of people because they're like, but at the same time, like they found a system that is clearly working with the draft. So, and as we get more information and more data on Enrique Bradfield with these picks in the late first round, it'll become more apparent. But I think that trend's going to continue, even though they're picking here in the back end of the first round. I know a lot of more casual fans or Orioles fans who are maybe more casually follow the draft are kind of like, I'm out now. I get it. I understand that. That's fair. But like, I think that trend is going to continue with these Orioles hitting on these picks more often than not, just because like they really, really trust the model that they're using.
Well, 3 picks to go now as Astros took Walker Janek, Diamondbacks took Slade Caldwell, Texas Rangers are the last pick in the first round, and then we have, who's the only team? Diamondbacks again ahead of the Orioles with 31. Still got Brecht, got Waldschmidt, you still got Billy Amick, so some pretty talented players still available. Not to mention the high school guys that we mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, this Ryan Sloan, high school righty out of Illinois. I think that was the guy that Tyler was high on. Maybe, I don't know if he talked about it with us on the podcast on Monday, but I've heard him elsewhere talk about Ryan Sloan. This is a high school kid who's already throwing 99 miles per hour, 6'4", 220 pounds, a Wake Forest recruit. Like this looks like a good kid that where if you save a little bit of money on Honeycutt, I don't know if I don't imagine I feel like you could probably save a little bit of money with the Honeycutt pick, maybe. So maybe you go with a Ryan Sloan type pick here. But yeah, Waldschmidt's still there. That's another very Orioles type pick. Brecht, obviously. A lot of teams, Pipeline especially, love Cal catcher Caleb Lomavita to the Orioles. Maybe they go catcher here at 32. Santucci, still available. I don't know. I feel like you're gonna have a pretty good option here at 32 because of all these high school kids going early.
The Rangers are taking Malcolm Moore, catcher.
All right.
Out of Stanford. Hey, we've taken a catcher out of Stanford before.
Wait, are we?
Now we're down to Arizona at 31. We'll save this for the Diamondbacks pick coming in, but start thinking about that question that we had earlier, which is, who do you think the Orioles are going to take, and who would you prefer that the Orioles take?
Where are we at on the tracker? I can't find this stuff.
PPI.
I
had to go up to the top, push round PPI. Yeah.
Let me refresh here.
I think I'm going to probably have the same answer as before, where I want Brecht and I'll predict Waldschmidt. Just like Garrett says here.
Let's go. Let's shoot the moon. Let's shoot the moon here with this draft. Vance Honeycutt, Brody Brecht. If they flame out, they flame out. Who cares? It's the MLB draft. Let's have some fun. Let's get the future ace of this rotation and the future starting center fielder and build the freaking statues already for these guys. But seriously, though, I do like it's the draft. It is a crapshoot. Like Michael Elias said, even with the 1-1 pick, it takes luck. Like Jackson Holiday becoming who he is, like that takes luck. Jackson Holiday could have very easily had the injuries that Drew Jones has had to start his career. Like the scouts can do what they can. The scouts are amazing. The models do what they can, but at the end of the day, it does take a little bit of luck. I'm feeling lucky. Let's go Vance Honeycutt and Brody Brecht in this draft. And I doubt we see Brecht this year, but start next year in Aberdeen. See if he can throw some strikes.
First of all, thank you, College Station Kid. I think we can pretend he will until he doesn't. I think it's an exciting pick either way. Like it's swinging for the fences. I would love to see it happen.
Agreed. It's a good pick either way. Let's not Angels it and get it right.
Never model your game off of the Angels.
Yeah.
MLB Draft Strategy 101.
When was that when they took all pitchers? Was it like 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Year. The first year was 20 rounds and they took literally every pitcher.
I think I saw someone was talking about that recently and updating what all those pitchers are doing, and it's not much. So it didn't really help particularly.
But no, I don't. I mean, even look at like, I don't know if this is a fair comparison to talk about it, but like Seth Johnson, I feel like they could have fast-tracked him. He's already on the 40-man roster. You could have fast-tracked him, and he could be a bullpen option for you this year. But I don't think they will because I think they like his upside as a starter. And so they're going to continue to slow play it a little bit with Seth Johnson there. I don't see why that would change. That strategy would change with a draft pick. Like, if you're going to take Brody Brecht, I feel like it's because you love his upside and think you can fix the control, and you think that this guy could eventually be like a mid-rotation, maybe more starter for you. Like that's his stuff has been compared to Paul Skeens. Some of it in some aspects even better than Paul Skeens. And if you think he can be a starter for you, yeah, you're not gonna rush that at all. You're gonna try to get that out of him if he's the pick here.
Of course, we're still waiting for Arizona's pick right now. I mean, they could take Brecht, but I do think a couple of things with Brecht. If the Orioles would draft him at 32nd overall, I don't think he pitches this year. And I'm just basing that off of the way they handled Jackson Baumeister, Levi Wells, some of their other picks last year. He probably has the summer off, starts next year at Aberdeen. And I think they are going to try to develop him as a starter. That doesn't mean he's not going to end up a reliever down the line. If he does end up a reliever, he can still provide a lot of value in that role for you. But we heard that profile about Levi Wells last year. If you put him in the bullpen, you could fast track him. The Orioles haven't done that. They could have chosen a different path with Teddy Sharkey before he went on the IL this year. Started him at Bowie, have him throwing 1 inning at a time, but instead they put him in Aberdeen, and they had him going more than 3 outs in a lot of his outings. So I don't think the Orioles are ever going to – I'm not going to say they're never going to do it, but I think that there's a point high up in the draft where they're unlikely to draft a guy to be a pure reliever, at least early on. They're going to try to develop him as a starter or try to develop him as a multi-inning weapon, and if they can't get that, resort to power reliever.
Yeah. That's the other thing why I feel confident in Brecht, just because, like, look at the jump Cade Povich made from last year to this year. That was really impressive. Honestly, coming into this year, I don't want to say concerned. Like, Cade Povich, to me, like, I was concerned. I don't think there's another word there. I was concerned about Povich because when it was bad last year in AAA. He couldn't get that consistency going. And I'm like, is he going to be able to figure it out? It's been rocky up in the majors. I know, I get that, but like it was rocky for Grayson. He's a rookie making that transition. We'll see what he figures out the rest of this year. If he has to go back to AAA for an extended period of time, I know he just got optioned. We'll see if that's just because the break, they don't need that extra pitcher right now. They need the extra bullpen arm, or if this is an extended run back at AAA, TBD. But like he took a major step forward. Chase McDermott in spring training looked so much better. It fell off at the start of the year in AAA, but I feel like his control has gotten better as the years progressed. We saw them do it with DL Hall. When you move DL Hall to the bullpen, his control got a lot better, and he was very effective in a small sample as a reliever for the Orioles. It's why I feel confident with Brecht here. So
we need to update our predictions because Waldschmidt just went to the Diamondbacks.
Good pick.
Yeah. So I still want Brecht. Now, I might think it's going to be. It might be Brecht for both for me now. I'll say Billy Amick now as the new prediction. What do we think about him, Nick?
Amick. Let me see.
Tennessee third baseman.
What do I have?
Looks like 50 hit, 55 power, 45 field, 50 arm. Strikeout rate under 20% in back-to-back seasons.
Those are that's data that the Orioles like.
And it looks like fierce bat speed, clean path through the zone, slight uppercut creates plenty of fly balls, simple setup, minimal movement. Seems like could be a guy the Orioles like.
I wouldn't hate Amick. I think he had, I don't know. I don't think it was an injury. He missed some time this year and like immediately came back. And I feel like it was some surgery, like a minor surgery, but he immediately came back and I think just hit like a monster home run in like his first game back in SEC play too. But like, I want it to be Brecht at this point. At 32, 100%, I want it to be Brecht. Who do I think it's going to be? Dakota Jordan. I'll say Mississippi State outfielder Dakota Jordan.
Yeah, I agree with Nick.
Yeah. Which
Wouldn't
again,
hate that either.
that's the same thing. I wouldn't have hated it at 22, but it's like, that's not as exciting. It could be a lot more exciting. If Brecht wasn't there, I would want Jordan a lot more, especially with Brecht and Walterman gone. But with Brecht sitting there, but if they pass on Brecht, like, do you feel any solace in like the O's think they can't fix him? I don't know.
He's fallen further than a lot of mock drafts had him fall to this point. Honestly, I'm surprised that he got past the Dodgers, the Padres, the Yankees. I even thought Arizona might pick him up with one of those two picks.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Maybe they go one of these high school shortstops.
Yeah.
Like, this
I'd
Culpepper's
like that
gone
as
if you
well.
want one. Because as far as college shortstops go, you got, again, Griffo Ferrell from UVA there. You got Kyle DeBarge out of Louisiana Lafayette. After that, like, college shortstops, I'm scrolling.
I like Caleb Bonemer, Carter Johnson.
The next college shortstop I see on this list is Jalen Flores out of Texas. And honestly, I've never heard of him until now. I wouldn't hate the high school shortstop here. If it's not Brecht, but I want Brecht.
Any minute now. Any second now.
While we're waiting, has aircraft carrier been set in the last hour and a half?
Most certainly. But we can't watch it, unfortunately.
I just heard he's a freak. And that silence there. So I don't know who they're talking about, though. Oh, Melanie Newman is taking the lead here for round 2 also.
So, Orioles connection.
I was while we wait here and we just vamp for a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I was disappointed in Melanie Newman yesterday. She had the chance there to really hype up Samuel Basayo, and he only got 2 at bats, 7-inning game. I get it, but like, come on, Melanie, hype up Basayo in the national broadcast force. The kid is a monster. Let the world know. But I liked what he did. 4-pitch walk, 100-mile-an-hour ground out. That wasn't as exciting, but good for Basayo to see him on that national stage yesterday. I don't know if you guys watched that or not.
I unfortunately missed it because I was at Camden Yards, hate watching that game on Saturday afternoon. But was there a lot of buzz one way or the other on Twitter about his batting practice session?
Not really. No, it was pretty quiet. I feel like Orioles fans on social media the last few days were, not happy for obvious reasons, which is why I'm so glad the Orioles won today, because I feel like otherwise everyone would have just been tuned out and been like, I don't care who the pick is, they're garbage. We're never going to see them. This team sucks. The world's falling apart. It's the dark days are back again. So I'm glad the Orioles won and there's some excitement again, but they needed that win going into the break for sure. I'm going Joe here. See if he'll spoil it. He's not.
Yeah, someone
Come
spoil
on.
it.
One more pick. Who is it?
Shouldn't it speed up as we go on? It feels like it's slowing down.
Oh, it is Griffo Ferrell, shortstop out of UVA. All righty.
Interesting.
All right.
I was not
I
expecting
don't really
that.
know anything about him.
Yeah,
but
Nick, that's in your home state. Any insight here?
Yeah, try to pull this out here real quick. What did I write about him real quick? Griff. All right, so he's 6'1", right-handed hitting. He was starting shortstop at UVA from his freshman year. The power, he had like 30 grade power coming into the year, but he started showing a lot of power early on. I'm trying to pull up his numbers real quick here. He had like 4 home runs in like the first 2 weeks of the year or something. Let's see. So he had 5 home runs on the year. Coming into the season, he had 3 career home runs. So he had 5 this year. So showing a little more power. He's that hitterish guy, but he's not going to give you the Connor Norby power. That power is never going to be there with Griffo Ferrell. Like, he's a good, solid defensive shortstop. He's going to give you that. He's going to play strong defense. He's going to give you pesky at bats. It's going to be line drive, like gap to gap. He's not fast, but he's like smart on the base paths. He's a UVA kid. He's smart. But he's going to be smart on the base paths. He's going to make good contact. It's not sexy at all, but like, I wanted Brecht. I'm disappointed, but
Yeah. This seems like a super safe signability. Like, you're probably going to save some money here, I would imagine.
yes.
He was rated 115th according to Baseball America. So maybe they have plans for someone that's going to fall into the second or third round. But looks like really hard to strike out. 86% overall contact rate, 93% in-zone contact rate. Let's see what they can do with him.
This does feel like a safe signability pick as I look at it, because you probably are going to save a little bit here. Now, I'm going to pull up Eric Longenhagen's report. He has him graded right now as a 40 with low profile. He seems to like the defense, but there are questions about how much power he's going to develop for. And there's something here that actually Eric says pretty bluntly about the power. No power. Doubles only come via balls hooked into the left field corner. Bizarre low impact hitter with real shortstop glove. Ordinarily, defense like this makes for a 45 future value floor, but the underlying chase and total lack of power have me rounding down a bit, and he had him ranked 49th over at Fangraphs board.
The Twins go Kyle DeBarge next. Just rub it in, guys. Just rub it in.
Wow. Okay.
So I know we've still got some time until we put together our mid-season top 50, which is coming out in August. But first reaction, where are you slotting Honeycutt and O'Farrell on your list? You don't have to give the exact number, but a general range within a pick or two or a spot or two.
I'm looking at number between 8 and 9, either just ahead or just behind Enrique Bradfield for Honeycutt for me, I would imagine, as I dive deeper into this. Griffo Ferrell, I don't know. I don't know. Defensive first, no power, literally no power. I don't know if he's in my top 50. I have to really look into this, but first blush, don't love the pick. I'm sure in a few weeks' time I will end up loving the pick, but right now, not my favorite.
Yeah. Honeycutt, I think. Wait, where did you say you were slotting Honeycutt at?
I said either right before or right after Enrique Bradfield, around 8 or 9.
Yeah, I like that. O'Farrell, yeah, I just don't see the upside with O'Farrell. He's going to be harder to place because it's a very safe floor pick. Maybe back end of the top 50. I'll probably slide him in just because I do think he's a very good defensive shortstop. So he's got that. He's going to hit. He's just not going to hit for any power. He's not going to strike out. He's going to walk a decent amount.
That's true.
Going to get double-digit stolen bases, I'll probably slot him in towards the back end of the top 50.
Yeah. Personally, my 45 through 50 right now: Tavian Josenberger, Reed Trimble, Levi Wells, John Rhodes, Jake Cunningham, Anutis Mordon. Yeah, he could fit in there for sure.
Yeah, I have Honeycutt about the same range. I think I would put him below Bradfield at this point, but in the ballpark with Judd Fabian, maybe a spot above Fabian because the all-around tools might be better. And then as for O'Farrell, right now I have Tavian Josenberger ranked 32nd on my list, and that's as of July. I see O'Farrell falling somewhere around there because certainty to stick up the middle. Not a horrible hit tool, but no power whatsoever. Whereas Josenberger, there's questions about the hit tool, but he can move around. He has really good speed. So I reserve the right to change that. I'm going to learn more about O'Farrell, but I see him slotting around that area of my list. So probably low to mid 30s. So Baltimore Sports Providence, pointing this out that the Corbin Burnes trade is now complete. The Brewers take Blake Burke with the 34th overall pick, which came over in the Burnes trade along with DL Hall and Joey Ortiz.
Still a fair trade.
Yeah. You took a college first baseman. Congratulations, Milwaukee. Could have got more. No, I don't. I'm trying to process all of this live here. I guess just kind of overall, like, they're shooting for a high school kid later on, right? Like, they're something. I feel like,
Feels like it, yeah.
The Griffo Ferrell pick, that was the money saver here. I don't hate the Griffo Ferrell pick at all. At 32, I don't love it at all, if that makes any sense. Overall, though, like, I would have loved him in like round 3 if he would have fell.
Yes,
but it's very safe, like, as safe as quote unquote safe. He could also flame out, hit, be Michael Hernandez down there in Delmarva, but like, it is a very safe floor. It is defense. Yes, he started hitting the ball in the air more this year at UVA. He started tapping into his power more, but like, you're going to see the term hitterish a lot, I'm sure. You're going to hear that over and over and over again with Griffo Ferrell. This is not Connor Norby hitterish. Griffo Ferrell is not going to turn around and hit 15 home runs next year in his first full year in the minor leagues. He's like Mason McCoy power, I feel like, if you remember old Mason McCoy back in the day. Is that a good comp? I don't do comp. I hate it, but like, I could almost see that being the type of comp there. Mason McCoy with a better hit tool. Like, with Brody Brecht sitting there, that's the only reason why I am disappointed. But I don't despise this pick.
Also have to measure a draft in completion. It's hard to say, why wouldn't you take Brecht over O'Farrell when if they might already have deals lined up with guys a little bit later in the line. Let's see how the entire draft plays out. And at least tomorrow night we'll come back and we'll see all the first 10 rounds, and then that'll give us a much better idea of the strategy and how well they did here.
Yeah, that's a good point. And before we wrap up tonight, since we've been talking about him all night, where does Brecht fall in this draft? Let's go ahead and predict that now.
61 overall. Orioles.
Dude, the draft tracker doesn't show the upcoming picks. So I'm at a loss here with the A's. All right, where are we at now? Who just picked?
Cleveland just picked Braylon Doughty.
And Diamondbacks 35 took high school shortstop.
Pittsburgh's at 37. Skeens and Brecht in that system.
But yeah, I think you're right, Nick.
No.
I wonder if we see the second and third round picks, and then we look at it overall, that if we would have took O'Farrell with the second or third round pick, and whoever we take there with the bonus pick, maybe it would have just played a little bit better as far as a live reaction.
Yeah, I agree, which is why I'm going to hold off on judging the O'Farrell pick fully until tomorrow. As for Brecht, I'll say that he falls 39th to the Nationals. They probably have some money to work with after taking Seaver King in the first round. Seems like a good fit for him, organization-wise.
I could see it.
I don't know. Do you guys... like I was saying earlier, though, if the Orioles passing on him twice, do you take any solace in thinking that the Orioles said, "Nah, we don't think we can fix him"? And does that make you feel any better that the Orioles passed on him? Or
a lot of teams are passing on him, so I mean, it does make some kind of sense.
Yeah, because there are some teams that have already picked that I thought could have fixed him. I would have thought Milwaukee could have fixed him. I would have thought the Dodgers could have fixed him. I would have given the Guardians a shot at fixing him. And so far, they've all passed on him. And like I said early on in this broadcast, I thought Toronto was going to take a chance because it just seemed like the kind of thing the Blue Jays would do. So, yeah, I do take a little bit of solace in the fact that he's fallen much further than he has to this point. I'm not so sure that means it's not going to turn out to be the wrong decision. But in the moment, I do take a little bit of solace in it.
They just showed the Pirates draft room celebrating. Very happy.
Levi Sterling out of Notre Dame High School in California.
Brody Brecht is going to the Colorado Rockies with pick number 38.
Is that actually what's happening?
Yeah, that's a fact.
Poor guy.
Wait, he's a Rocky?
He's a Rocky.
Oof.
Not a great fit.
R.I.P. Brody Brecht. Oh, man, we should have saved him. No.
Yeah, Diamondbacks had a great draft so far, which you're likely to do with 3 early picks in the first round. So,
Yeah, so we'll have more for you tomorrow. Go ahead.
I had the broadcast on in the background. Pirates going 2 high school picks. I like what the Pirates do. Not going to lie. I think the Pirates are setting themselves up pretty nicely if these guys can convert to major leaguers. They've been having some good drafts the last couple of years.
Yeah, the Pirates are one of those organizations that I keep looking at and kind of scratching my head, like, why aren't they already better at the major league level? But eventually they're going to get there, and they'll be really good.
I can't wait.
Oh, no.
I can't wait to read all the hot takes, the people that flip out because the Orioles took Griffo Ferrell, which we obviously were not super stoked about, but it's going to be funny to watch.
We're comparing Griffo Ferrell to Jordan Westberg right now. Oof. I don't know about that, Baltimore Sun.
No.
Good try. That's okay. No. But yeah, I don't know. You want to give final thoughts? Wrap up? I don't know. What do you guys want to do?
Nationals just had a nice selection with Caleb Lamavita, 39 overall. We can end on that note.
And we will be back with... Go ahead.
What's your grade? Everybody put the grades on. No, don't
that's right. We have to do that. Yeah, like in the moment, we can't do the rational thing and wait 5 years. We got to do it right now.
D, no pitching.
solid C plus.
I will give it the Bradford Doolittle special of F minus or whatever whatever he has signed the Jorge Lopez trade in the moment. No, I'll give it incomplete.
Yeah.
Check back for my grade tomorrow, or 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Well, and with that, that does it for tonight's broadcast. For our live listeners, thank you for sticking with us. If you downloaded this on your podcast feed, thank you for listening to the whole way through. Even though you probably already knew the picks before we knew them as we were recording this episode, we thought it'd be fun, though, to have kind of instant reaction on this episode. So we hope you appreciated that. And with that, we will be back tomorrow night to grade or to break down rounds 2 through 10 in the MLB draft. In the meantime, you can follow us on our multitude of social media channels, including Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, and YouTube. We're also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheBirds.substack.com. And if you're not a member already, sign up for our Patreon community. And at the $3 level, become a paying member. At the $5 and $10 levels, have access to bonus daily coverage from Bob, Nick, and myself. For Bob Phil and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Spedden. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, presented by Bet Online and part of the Believe Podcast Network.